watching Oregon's News at 10 on Oregon's Fox.
Good evening and thank you for joining us for Oregon's News at 10. I'm Kristen Goodwillie. First tonight, a small fire broke out in Springfield last night off Marcola Road. According to Eugene Springfield Fire, it started after a drone crashed into a grassy field. Alex Hossenstaub talked with the man behind the controller to find out what happened.
And I could see the guy had a couple dogs and they came running up towards me. I think they were just trying to be friendly, but one of them jumped on me and knocked the controller out of my hands. And at that point I lost control and the drone crashed in the field.
It happened Tuesday evening around 5:30. Cameron Austin Connolly had gone out to this field off Marcola Road in Springfield.
So I was out there flying around like I had a dozen times before. I'm flying in the goggles, so I can't see what's right around me. I just see from the view of the drone.
Video footage from the drone shows the dogs approaching Austin Connolly, and just seconds later, the drone comes crashing to the ground.
And when I started walking that direction, I saw smoke, and then quickly saw flames afterwards.
Fortunately, the fire was small and no one was hurt. But the camera was the only part of Austin Connolly's $300 drone that survived.
You can see a broken arm on impact. Most of the plastic bits are all pretty melted.
The field is on private property.
It's kind of a big open spot that's not really marked for anything, but at the same time there's leash laws for a reason.
Springfield Animal Control Officer Brian Austin says legally, if you take your dog in public,
it needs to be on a leash no longer than 8 feet in length and being controlled by somebody who is able to control it physically.
While the police use discretion when enforcing the rule,
we do not acknowledge voice command as an actual way to control your animal.
But Austin Connolly doesn't lay all the blame on the owner of the dog.
I'm definitely going to be more cautious in the future on where I choose to fly. And I'm going to look into a fire extinguisher I can bring with me as well.
Police tell us the owners of the property are not seeking any charges in connection with this incident. After a combined 7 years in federal prison, Eastern Oregon ranchers Dwight and Steven Hammond are back home in Burns tonight, a day after President Trump pardoned them. Friends and supporters gathered at the Burns airport, waving American flags. Some made signs, others produced stickers and T-shirts. When the Hammonds stepped out, the crowd erupted in cheers. Some of them broke down in tears of joy. Oregon Republican Congressman Greg Walden pushed for a presidential pardon last month after hearing from the Hammonds and their supporters. After a series of meetings with White House officials, President Trump signed their pardon, saying justice is overdue.
There's no way we can thank everybody enough and know who was the last one that tipped the scales, but the last one that tipped the scales can't be fully appreciated without appreciating everybody before him.
The Hammonds were convicted of burning public land, about 127 acres worth, owned by the Bureau of Land Management. The Hammonds say they started the backburn from another fire that was threatening their ranch and cattle. The BLM says the Hammonds started the fire on purpose and during a burn ban to cover up hunting violations. A jury ultimately found the Hammonds guilty, but a federal judge sentenced them below the mandatory minimum 5-year sentence, indicating the penalty was too stiff. Prosecutors later appealed that decision, and the Hammonds were ordered back to prison. Time now for a first look at that forecast. Let's hand it over to meteorologist Travis Knutson to see what's ahead. Travis, it is going to be a hot day tomorrow, right?
Oh yes, many locations will make it into the 90s. Some spots in the state will even see some triple-digit heat as we get into tomorrow. As a result, we have some heat-related warnings and watches around the region. The sort of salmon color across a good chunk of Douglas County. As a heat advisory that's in effect till 11 p.m. on Monday of next week. The pink, an excessive heat warning, in effect till 11 p.m. on Tuesday of next week. And the sort of tan color out across the high desert, that's a fire weather watch that continues until Friday evening. So getting hot tomorrow, some spots even seeing some 100-degree temperatures. And tonight, well, we're not going to cool down a whole lot. Mid-50s on the way. Miserable in Medford with mid-60s for their overnight lows. And while this trend continues for a while, I'll tell you how long on my forecast coming up in just a bit.
Thanks, Travis. With temperatures hitting the 90s this week, you might be thinking about getting an air conditioning unit. Well, you're not alone. Reporter Kelsey Christensen found out more homeowners in the Pacific Northwest are getting in-home cooling systems.
With the blaring sun and high temps, you can bet Oregonians are looking for some cool air.
Early 2000s is really when it's kind of started hitting everything and everyone was demanding it.
Realtor Chelsea Dietmeyer is calling it the new standard.
I think it's one of those things that we just come accustomed to, that, you know, even in our cars, like we expect to have air conditioning in our cars. It's kind of becoming that same thing in homes.
Nearly half of the house listings in Lane County, both old and new homes, have air conditioning, and almost all the new homes in Lane County come with built-in air and heating. But if you're still in need of a cool down, there's a wide variety of AC units.
Portable air conditioners are really popular.
Brian from Jerry's Home Improvement says portables are good for apartments, but the window units are more efficient.
The 5,000 BTU and the 6,000 BTU are really great for bedrooms. Maybe that room faces the south sun and just gets really hot.
Or you can buy a large one around 10,000 BTU to keep the whole house cool, or even one with a timer.
You can also set it so it'll turn off in the middle of the night. So as it's cooling your house down, so you're able to sleep, it'll turn off for you and you won't have to run it all night long.
And don't forget about the dogs.
Yeah, when I come home, they're not panting.
If you're looking for a cheaper option, or you could just stick a fan in your window for about 30 to 40 bucks.
They actually have fans that are built for it, that have this is meant to go in the window.
Bringing fresh air in and the hot air out. Reporting in Eugene, I'm Kelsey Christensen.
If you do live in an apartment complex, you should check with the management before putting one in your window. Since a lot of homes still don't have AC, we checked stores who say they're stocking up with more every year because they're expecting that demand. Kids in the Albany area are getting hands-on experience with a career path they may not have considered before. The middle school manufacturing camp started 3 years ago, a joint project between Albany Area Chamber of Commerce and Lynn Benton Community College. From working with machinery to designing airplanes, these kids are getting a chance to explore various job opportunities. And it's not just to help them navigate the future. The city was inspired to create the camp because shortage of skilled workers in the manufacturing industry.
There's just not a younger generation applying for these positions.
We're giving them the opportunity to see some of these things that are available to them.
The camp organizers say part of what they're teaching these kids is that they don't have to go to a 4-year university to be successful. They can learn these skills young and head into the workforce early and still make a great living. There has been a growing emphasis on the effects of plastic has on our environment, with some restaurants now banning plastic straws. I talked with PacTech, a plastic fabrication company that says there's a lot of information about plastic that isn't being shared.
This is our newer facility.
Production continues to increase at PacTech. They make plastic can carriers and multi-pack handles.
And then it'll just shove it into the mold, and then we have a certain amount of time for it to cool.
They say plastic is getting a bad rap.
Plastics are a good thing, and we believe that they're here to stay for society.
Despite the recent headlines about plastic, being environmentally conscious is a huge part of their mission.
PacTech takes sustainability very seriously in everything that we do, even from the development of the building to the machines to the material that we use in our products.
These can carriers are made out of household containers, and just last year, PacTech says they diverted 81 million milk jugs from going into our landfills. Pankinen says a big issue is that recyclable material is getting into our landfills because recycling centers aren't able to properly sort different plastics.
It needs to be addressed very strongly, that they need to get the technology up to speed to use optics and other methods to properly sort the different plastics and keep it out of the waste stream.
For instance, PacTech's products are 100% recyclable, but you can't put them in curbside recycling. As a solution, PacTech is creating their own program.
And so if someone has a bunch of your product, they can just come to this facility or the one in Eugene and drop it off?
Absolutely. We have bins outside of each location that they can, during our working hours, just walk up and put it in there.
Pankinen says it's all part of PacTech's goal, getting their products back to where they belong, in the recycle stream and out of our landfills. PacTech also has drop boxes in California, British Columbia, and Hopworks in Portland, and are working on more locations. Their next step is creating a mail-back program. Coming up on Oregon's News at 10, will Springfield voters give the green light in November to a new money measure for streets? Tom Adams has the reports after weather with Travis Knutson.
Well, we have some heat on the way across western Oregon. A lot of sunshine, some warm air moving on in, and we'll be well above average for pretty much everybody across the state, but not quite near record range. And here's a description, or a depiction, I should say, of our records versus the forecast. This is a graph. The blue line is the forecasted highs for the next 7 days. The red line is the record. And while our forecast will be right around that 90-degree mark for the Eugene-Springfield area, we'll be well below that record range. And even for Roseburg, another very warm place, same thing. Records close to the forecast, but not quite there as we head into the weekend and into next week. But the average for this time of year is in the mid to low 80s, so firmly above that hot regardless, and the hot weather is here to stay for quite some time. In fact, here's a look at the high temperatures across the state today. 89 degrees in Corvallis, 87 in Eugene as well as Roseburg, 94 in Medford. And these temperatures here also firmly above average, and they're nowhere near where tomorrow's temperatures will end up for the region. Relative humidity pretty dry as well, starting to increase a little bit just because our current temperatures are cooling down, and so we usually see an uptick in relative humidity during the night. But look, it's the high desert, very dry all around, which means fire danger is on the high side. A lot of yellow here on the map looking at our fire potential for today. As we get into the weekend with temperatures on the rise, would not be surprised to see a few more very high spots in terms of fire danger across the Pacific Northwest. What's going on, what's bringing us this heat is a high pressure center off the California coast. It's moving its way in, and it's bringing in some hot, dry air and keeping things very, very clear. The jet stream, which guides basically the rain in the northern hemisphere, is forced way off to the north in northern Canada, forced northward by this high pressure center. And this high pressure center is not going anywhere anytime soon. So all the storms out across the Pacific, they miss us entirely. You can even see here in our model forecast, getting into tomorrow morning, this is 8 a.m., pretty clear across the state of Oregon. There are some clouds out to the east, some clouds up to the north. That's the jet stream. That's where the moisture is, missing us entirely. And that's not only for Thursday, that's for Friday, that's for Saturday, that's for Sunday, and that's most likely for all of next work week as well. Now, temperatures on the coast in the mid-60s, which is warm for the coast, but if you need to dodge the heat, the coast is where you want to go, because temperatures here, while warm, are much more reasonable than some of the mid to upper 90s much of western Oregon will face over the next couple of days. Here's a look at the 7-day forecast for the Oregon coast. Plenty of sunshine. Each morning may see some low clouds, some fog right on the shoreline, but it will burn away fairly quickly with blue skies dominating the majority of the day. For the Umpqua Valley, close to 100 degrees tomorrow. Might see 100 degree in here too, but I think we'll go with 99 for as hot as it'll get, but otherwise very, very warm. And I think by Sunday we could do it with a high temperature of 100 there. Dry, clear, a lot of sunshine on the way. For the Cascades, blue skies, but windy in the mountains tomorrow afternoon. We've had a lot of wind around the state today with that high pressure center getting closer to us. That repeats again tomorrow. Central Oregon dealing with some 90s. The Willamette Valley, hot tomorrow as well. 94 in Junction City, Eugene, Springfield area, right around 93. Above average by about 10 to 11 to 12 degrees for this time of year. Here's a look at the extended forecast for the Eugene, Springfield area. We'll cool down a little bit getting into the weekend, but 90s are here to stay. The sunshine is as well, with not a drop of rain in sight. We'll be dry for a while. We'll be right back.
For the second time in 2 years, voters in Springfield will decide the fate of a measure to spend more money on streets. But this time, officials are not going with a proposed boost in the local gas tax. Tom Adams shows us the latest plan and what voters would get for their tax money.
2 years ago in November, more than 2 out of 3 Springfielders said no to a doubling of the local gasoline tax to fix the streets. So this fall, the city is trying a different path to street repairs, this time a bond measure.
You know, it's got to be within budget, and Springfield's a pretty lean community, so keeping that cost down is real important.
By the numbers, the bond measure is for 5 years and $10 million. The tax rate would be 50 cents per thousand property valuation. That means the average homeowner's tax bill in Springfield would rise $80 per year. Engineers say that deteriorating streets are driving this street bond plan.
This street out here might look average to some folks, but all of that cracking means that the subbase is failing.
And if the subbase fails, the engineers say that is huge trouble and much higher costs.
Then you'll start seeing potholes develop, what we like to call alligator cracking, which is where you see all of that kind of scaly cracking.
Well, local motorists may remember the big reconstruction project last summer in Eugene on Jefferson Street. The Springfield engineers say that is exactly the scenario they're trying to avoid with this new bond measure.
It's a very expensive proposition. We'd like to avoid that cost by preserving the asset we have today.
Boyott tells me recent polling done by the city shows a modest bond measure with specific projects outlined stands a chance to pass in November.
I want to make clear these won't be full dig up replace projects.
Providing a down payment to reduce a backlog of street repairs that could hit $40 million by the end of this year.
Along with Olympic Street, 42nd from Main Street to the International Paper Mill entrance is on the project list. It also includes High Banks Road, Centennial Boulevard, Commercial Street, and other routes. We'll be right back. A classic Shakespeare tale will hit Coos Bay this weekend. The curtain goes up at Mingus Park for the first set of weekend shows. Director John Bean says Shakespeare is an inspirational writer, and he's excited to see the crew's 10 weeks of rehearsals paying off.
He talks about all of our troubles and what it means to be human, and we hope to impart some of that love to the crowd.
The show starts at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, both Saturday and Sunday at Mingus Park. Encore shows are scheduled for next weekend, the 21st and 22nd. And the Coos History Museum pays tribute to veterans in the coastal area. The museum is dedicating 2018 to veterans. One of 2 special exhibits features U.S. Coast Guard art. It will be on Thursday. The works are all done by members of the Coast Guard. Now, the second of the exhibits is still to come. It's Vet Ink, military-inspired tattoos. Veterans get in free all year. Coming up on Oregon's News, lugging bags through the airport is usually part of the traveling experience. How one airline is working to change that. Finally tonight, KLM Dutch Airlines is testing out an airport robot that can carry up to 85 pounds of luggage. The robot is named Carrie. That's so sweet. And it will take the shape of a self-driving trolley. Users won't need to talk to the robot to operate it. Instead, it uses a variety of nonverbal sounds to interact with travelers. Even better, the robot can use AI technology to access real-time data like gate changes. Carrie is still being tested, but the airline plans to put it to use in both New York's JFK and San Francisco's International Airport sometime this year. That's pretty cool.
That's really cool. I like
Carrie.
that a lot. And it's like Wally. It's spelled like Wally, but carry.
Yeah, it carries your luggage.
I like that. I dig it. There'll be robots all over the place.
I know, it's craziness. Well, Sky Muller is next with sports. Have a good night.